I would encourage you to give love to another widow. Now, if you're new to this journey, prayerfully, others are showing love to you. But if you've been a widow for a while or a single mom, give love away. Perhaps you know an older woman who's been widowed for a while and no one's thinking of her on Valentine's Day. Maybe her sons and daughters are in another state. You might consider giving love away and showing your children what that looks like. Take her some flowers, invite her over for tea or invite her over for dinner. Ask her to share her life story with you and your children. You might want to give her the gift of a soft blanket. This is a tangible reminder that God covers us with His love and He never forgets us. He never leaves us. Welcome to Raising Fatherless Kids, where we believe that
God is a father to the fatherless.
God is a father to the fatherless.
God is the father to the fatherless.
God is a father to the fatherless.
Welcome to Raising Fatherless Kids. I'm your host, Lori Apon. I'm so glad you're here, Mom. When you think about Valentine's Day, what comes to your mind? For some, it might be tender. Maybe you got engaged or married on Valentine's Day. Maybe you anticipated something special that your husband would do for you every year. Maybe he didn't do anything at all. So those memories want to come back and kind of ruin your life now, and don't let it. As a child, maybe you think back to parties and having that Valentine box where you didn't have to. You gave a card to every child in your class. I remember my mom made a dress for me, and it had this bib, a collar, and she had embroidered the name of every one of my classmates. And then she even had some hearts that were blank for maybe someone in the class that she wasn't aware of. It was a big day for my family. Maybe you received flowers or candy, whatever it is. But now that you're a single mom, or now that you are a widow, Valentine's Day can be tender. It can be challenging. It can be one of those days where you feel like you're having to put a smile on your face and make it special for your children, but it's hard. And you're thinking, I've already navigated Thanksgiving and Christmas and the start of a new year, and here we are again. And so I want to encourage you, that is hard, and I'm sorry for that. But we get to decide what the day is going to look like. We get to decide how we're going to spend the day. And so that's important. Our perspective matters. But let's take a few minutes to look at the history of Valentine's Day. I'm sure you've heard the story about Saint Valentine. It's believed that he was a Christian who would secretly marry couples in a season in an area where they were forbidden. And so it took a lot of courage, and his faithfulness and sacrificial love over time became noted, where the church set this day apart to honor him, to honor love that was rooted in commitment and faith. And so over the centuries, it gradually became associated with expressing love and showing kindness to others. Just a few fun facts about Valentine's Day. It's one of the largest card-giving holidays of the whole year, second to Christmas. If you're not on the mailing list with Perspective Ministries, you will want to click on the link in the show notes and sign up for care. Even if you're a single mom, we send out cards throughout the year, and we are sending out Valentine's Day cards. And so we'd love to send one to you. 145 million Valentine's Day cards are exchanged every year. That's amazing, isn't it? Except when maybe you're not getting a Valentine from the one you loved. Chocolate also became linked to Valentine's Day in the 1800s. It was marketed as a symbol of affection. Now, who doesn't like chocolate? I'm not a big fan of chocolate. My assistant is actually allergic to chocolate. Can you imagine? But chocolate seems to go with Valentine's Day. And teachers will often receive more Valentine's Day cards from anyone else during the year. So that's pretty important. But for me, Valentine's Day was a very special day. This is the day my parents got married. And so my mom loved gifts. She loved Valentine's Day. So as a child, every morning on Valentine's Day, my brother and I would wake up to the kitchen table filled with little tissue paper wrapped gifts. Just something simple, but she would always make that day so special. And then my dad and my mom were married 61 years. They had a beautiful marriage. Not that they didn't fight here and there, but their marriage was one where they modeled faithfulness. They modeled commitment to the Lord. And so it was amazing what they taught me, because every Saturday night was date night for my parents without excuse. Once a year, they would attend a marriage retreat. They just demonstrated God's love to me through their commitment to each other. They're both gone now, and I miss them every single day. You have different stories. Maybe Valentine's was never celebrated. Maybe you didn't know much about it. Maybe it was always a challenging day because you wanted to be recognized and loved in a special way, and you weren't. And so here you are, now a single mom, and again, you get to decide how you're going to spend Valentine's Day with your children. This was important for me when I realized now I had the opportunity to bless my children. And so let's recreate the day. Yes, it's tender, and yet we must move forward with intentionality. Instead of focusing on what is missing, we can choose to make new memories. I had a friend who once walked through a painful divorce, and she was encouraged to take pictures of the new memories she was making. So this was before cell phones. I know, I'm dating myself. It was before we had a camera, easy access to a camera. She had purchased a small camera, and she was always taking pictures to remind herself that life was moving forward and it was going to be good. And it helped her to focus on the new season that she was in instead of looking back with regret. And so I have never forgotten the advice that she was giving and what she modeled for me and for my family. But Valentine's Day is an opportunity to model love for our children, to build community, and to give our children hope. So it's next week, so you have a little bit of time to think about how you're going to do that. How are you going to spend the day? I want to share just a few practical ways of how you can give love away, even if this season feels different or is beyond what you ever imagined. So again, you're going to hear me say this a lot because it's so important, and I really believe that your perspective matters. Ladies, focus on what you do have and not on what you're missing or what feels that's missing. That shift in perspective is so powerful, and so it's important. And then give love to your children, and we can give love to our children by surrounding them with godly examples. Often you might think, well, one thing I've learned as I've watched my children who are now adults marry, sometimes I've realized that they didn't have marriage modeled in the home. And so I didn't get to show them what it was like to be a wife. They didn't get to watch a husband and a wife interact together. And maybe you might be in a divorce situation or a deserted situation where what is modeled is not positive, but we still get to decide how we're going to respond to whatever the circumstances, whatever the things that we've been exposed to, and we can change that for our children. And so you get to expose them to godly couples who are living out a Christ-centered marriage. And you want to point those couples out. You're often going to find those couples and those families, those marriages in your church. And so if you're not involved in a community of faith, I've mentioned this a lot on the podcast because it's so important. I would encourage you to find a Bible-believing church and get involved. And that's where you're going to find couples. And yes, it's hard to be around couples sometimes. We feel like we're the third wheel or we feel awkward, but I would say press into it. And that's what we did. And there's often, you can point out, maybe you don't know the couple, but you might see a couple on a daily basis or week in and week out. You can point out to your children something you observe about how that husband treats his wife or how that wife talks about her husband. That's important. So how do we give love away? Well, you could write a short note to those couples and you could thank them for the way that they reflect God's love and faithfulness. Let them know that they have impacted your life, and this encouragement will bless them, and it reinforces what your children are learning. And then something we did, I talked about this in an earlier podcast several years ago, but we pressed in to the pain. We pressed into the hard season that we were in. Instead of feeling sad and lonely, I started having a progressive dinner. Now, you may not be comfortable or know other couples or families who would want to join together with a progressive dinner. Maybe it's another single mom and her children, a widow mom and her children. But a progressive dinner is just that. You might pick 3 homes, 3 families to host a part of the meal. So maybe you'll have an appetizer at one meal, the salad at another, the main dish, and then dessert. I included couples. I would ask couples who we knew, would you like to be a part of our progressive dinner? And surprisingly, they always agreed to be a part. And I would ask them to share their love story. They love to share how they met and then share how God's been faithful to them in their marriage. It was just fun. Testimonies are powerful, and it was just another way for my children to be exposed to godly homes and godly families. Mom, maybe you're not comfortable with that, so you might just plan a fun breakfast. I would not go out to dinner because that is probably one of the most popular days of the year to go out to dinner. So you might have long lines, but you might, again, join with another family, have a movie night, or do something special to create a new memory with your children and give that love away. I would encourage you to give love to another widow. Now, if you're new to this journey, prayerfully, others are showing love to you. But if you've been a widow for a while or a single mom, give love away. Perhaps you know an older woman who's been widowed for a while and no one's thinking of her on Valentine's Day. Maybe her sons and daughters are in another state. You might consider giving love away and showing your children what that looks like. Take her some flowers. Invite her over for tea or invite her over for dinner. Ask her to share her life story with you and your children. You might want to give her the gift of a soft blanket. This is a tangible reminder that God covers us with His love and He never forgets us. He never leaves us. You can give love to a stranger. Now, again, stranger danger. We want to be careful, but you might make this a challenge for your children. It might be as simple as giving a kind word to the cashier at the grocery store. It might be looking for someone who is sitting alone in church the Sunday before Valentine's Day and inviting them to sit with you. It can be as simple as a smile. That will brighten someone's day. And that's how we can give love to someone we don't even know. Giving love away through showing hospitality, community, serving others really does make a difference. It's going to turn the day around for you. And so just a few things to think about. Ladies, moms, you are deeply loved. It's not always going to hurt. It really won't. I'm sorry if it's tender and it's painful this year, but I want to encourage you that God deeply loves you. And even when you feel that you've been overlooked, betrayed, unseen, God cares for you and your children. And He sees. He's the God who sees. So press into His love, trust Him with your heart, and teach your children to do the same. Allow this season to be one where you're making new memories, you're creating new traditions. I would love to hear how you choose to celebrate Valentine's Day in your home. So if you follow us on social media, Perspective Ministries, we might have a time where you can share some of your own ideas. And if this episode or some of the past episodes have been helpful to you, please consider leaving a review. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any. Share it with a friend. And maybe you know someone else who needs encouragement. But thank you for spending this time with me today. I look forward to being with you next week. But until then, remember, you are loved and you have so much love to give away. Happy Valentine's Day.